Hello, Gurdeep and Ethan. I'm going to address the this post that I think Ethan put up, and then Gurdeep, you've reposted it with some comments in addition to it. And I'm going to put this in my AI solutions and ethics playlist on my YouTube channel because I've been addressing a lot of these topics about AI solutions and apps over the past 2 months because kind of on the beginning of the hype curve, right? So I I see this. So Ethan, what you've done is posted something on two early papers on productivity of software developers, or developers looks like programmers and software writers and programmers basically, and how it's happening their productivity. And pretty yes, of course, it's going to help performance and satisfaction in some ways, of course. Um, and then and then it's kind of like the predictive games, mentioning the predictive games have added steam power in the mid 1800s during the Industrial Revolution, all that stuff, and or when we were able to add 25% for our factory. And I could see that analogy. However, we're running into a way big different problem here, and one is that we're a few hundred years along the lines of ethics. We're a few hundred years into a lot of legal consequences, and now we got a lot of patents right out there, and so we got that, and copywriting and things, and that's in a whole thing. I've made a few videos just on the topic. But what I'd focus here on is the one of the you know the productivity and what it's going to do for is this going to really be well, I've talked about some things about validating generated AI content in another video, or actually two videos now, because I just posted one a few minutes ago. There's no doubt this is going to help. And one of the things that Gurdeep brought up, is that the benefits do not cover currently other overhead factors like accuracy checking, which I brought up in that video. And the accuracy checking is really key. It's really key here. And these are just one of the topics. There's no doubt this will be productive. The question is that one of the key things I brought up in one of my other videos, I'll mention again and adding more to it, and I'll be making some conference talks on this in the coming few weeks, is that the productivity is there. It's just that, is it going to help? Or, I mean, that's going to help, but should we be doing it? A lot of small business, I'm seeing a lot of small businesses on LinkedIn just say, hey, we're going to do this. And they don't think about what they're giving away, all the content they're giving it, all their own intellectual property and things that they're doing when they're giving away their ideas to the system that's just sucking this thing up. It's a vacuum, right? And it's going to spit it out again in a chaotic way, that completely non-predictable way at moments we don't know. And we don't want that, right? People don't want that. That's why I do not use, and I made a video on specifically on this, that I do not use ChatGPT on anything I'm working on, anything, not even these videos, because I don't want it to be published until I publish it, right? So this issue, it will be productive. Is productive good? Is being productive and doing this, is it always good? That's the key question. That's the question of the ethics aspect of it. Just because it has benefits doesn't mean that it should be used. And do those benefits, do they overshadow other issues that will cause more lawsuits, right? Potentially, and depending who wants to use this, right? But since it's so hot, and this is unprecedented, there's no content about this. There's nothing about this, right? There's nothing out there. There are a few published papers. Now, we haven't had stuff on all the neural approaches since 2015-ish, right? Statistical stuff since, I think I was working on it back 25 years ago even, but it really hit the scenes about 2009. Mainly all the statistical approaches for some types of natural language processing, right? I'm talking commercialized, right? I'm talking about where it's happening internally. I mean, at Microsoft, you guys were doing this, and Gurdeep, you were doing this back in. So I was working with some of you guys back in 2000, 1999, right? So I mean, because a lot of this has been around for statistical, and neural's been around, but it's been kind of very kind of prototyping and stuff and kind of seeing it. But it didn't turn into commercially viable stuff into a statistical like 2009-ish, 2008-ish. And then on to the neural stuff really got when they started making open source kits about this, 2015, 16-ish. So that's where it gets into being spread. And I think this is going to be the issue, is will this lead to a lot of patent wars in the field? I think it will. I really think it will. And then I'll get to spend a lot of time dealing with it, right? Dealing with the aftermath of that and helping solve some stuff. But these are the things that we're going to run into. So there isn't much published, so it's going to be over who published it first, right? There'll be a run to who's published stuff, right? This will be really interesting to see. I'm really excited to see this, and I'm working on stuff too, right? So I'm not going to say anything about what I'm working on. So, but people are going to be trying to prove who worked on it first and stuff. So this would be really cool to find out to see. I'm excited to see what this field's going to do, and it'll keep a lot of corporate lawyers busy for a while. Okay, I'll say it that way. So, and the small companies have to be finding the lawyers, right, to do this if they want to keep their ideas from being gobbled up by others, right? So, there have been this field hasn't had a lot of loose. I mean, I'm a corporate requirements trainer of intellectual property at SAP, right? And I've been training people on this topic for 10 years. Developers, all the development teams, at least in one significant subsidiary. And this stuff, we need to cover our rear ends, right? And the problem is that if everybody's saying, hey, let's do it, come on. No one's checking whether or not we should be doing it. Then, and what we're giving away, right? That's going to be a problem. And after you give it away, you can't claim it anymore, right? So this will be interesting. And I think there will be a few more of these overhead things. And overhead, I'll mention Gurdeep. Another thing, overhead is just the cost of putting this in place, right? If you make your own private system here, and you do it, you make your own, or you host one that's private and stuff. That's a lot of overhead cost. You got to actually fund this thing. Creating it's the one thing, but just hosting and all that, it's going to cost more money. The kind of servers you need to make this happen, if you want it to be local, if you really want it to be kind of a private cloud thing, guys, if you want it to be, it's going to be costly. It's not going to be cheap to host this thing, and especially not to develop it from scratch or at open source. So, and then people want to be, they've got the whole thing about the APIs and stuff. You can do it so you can kind of filter it out and do it. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, and that's not going to be cheap, and it won't be for free. So, and that'll turn into funding. But the funding we get it because people want to invest in cool stuff, right? So I get this all the time. And about half the stuff I say, let's not work on it because we're going to run ourselves into a brick wall and some stuff because of others have been doing stuff on this already, and we need to be careful not to steal their ideas, right? So this, this will be interesting. We'll see where it goes. Thanks for listening, and comments are welcome. Thanks.